Rachel Monroe was still holding the wine bottle when her sister stood up and said it. "We had a vote," Samantha announced, the edges of her smile sharpened with triumph. "You're no longer part of this family." The cinnamon-sweet scent of Christmas breakfast still lingered in the air. Her mother, Karen, dabbed at her eyes with a tissue already damp. Ethan stared at the floor like a child caught cheating on a test. Robert, their stepfather, didn't even look up from his third Bloody Mary. Rachel blinked once, then set the wine bottle down, gently. No one had noticed the black leather messenger bag still slung over her shoulder. "Well," she said, "before I go, I should leave something under the tree." She knelt beside the over-decorated fur, reached into her bag, and pulled out a red folder, thick, glossy, and bulging with secrets. The color gleamed like a warning flare as she placed it deliberately beneath the lowest branch, among the torn wrapping paper and discarded ribbons. No one moved. For once, they were quiet. 6 hours earlier, Rachel had rehearsed this moment 100 times. But even now, standing in the living room she'd paid to renovate, surrounded by people who had drained her account and her spirit for years, she didn't feel angry. She felt done. She hadn't always been the outsider. Growing up in Boston's south suburbs, the Monroe family had once passed for ordinary. But after the divorce, everything shifted. Rachel became the provider, the emergency fund, the fixer, one semester's tuition here, a mortgage payment there. Then it snowballed, and every time she tried to draw a boundary, they weaponized her loyalty. "Don't turn your back on family. What else are you going to spend your money on? Your sister's wedding is once in a lifetime." Even at work, Rachel carried the weight. She was the most senior analyst at Eastland Capital under 35, but her co-worker Melanie, perky, charming, and always conveniently around when Rachel's models needed presenting, kept catching the spotlight. A month ago, Melanie got promoted for an idea Rachel had originated in a confidential draft. When Rachel brought it up to their boss, he sighed and said, "Look, you're amazing with numbers, but she just presents better. You're a bit intense sometimes." That morning, Rachel had received a holiday card from Melanie. Inside was a Starbucks gift card and a sticky note. "Happy holidays, Rach. Thanks for all your help this year. Couldn't have done it without you." At least she was honest about it. Now, back in her childhood living room, Samantha crossed her arms. "What's in the folder?" Rachel looked at her, slowly. "Proof." Karen's voice cracked. "Sweetheart, don't do this. We didn't mean—" "You meant every word," Rachel cut in, her voice calm but cold. "I was early to dinner in September. I heard what you all said on the patio." Drew flinched. Rachel smiled faintly. "About how I'm an easy mark, how I live in a depressing apartment and wear the same clothes, how I'd always keep paying because I'm lonely." Ethan finally looked up. "Rach, don't," she said, steel slipping into her tone. "You voted me out, and that's fine. But now you'll get to live with what that vote means." She tapped the folder with one finger. Every wire transfer, every fake emergency, every lie about tuition, surgery, taxes, roof repairs, all cross-referenced with photos, receipts, and one very detailed report from a private investigator. "I don't understand," Robert said numbly. "You don't need to. Just know this. The next envelope you receive won't have a gift card in it. It'll come from my attorney." Silence. Rachel turned toward the door. Her bag felt lighter now. "If you've ever been cast aside after everything you've given," she said, her voice steady but low, "type 1 in the comments." She didn't slam the door. She didn't cry. She simply walked out, and this time no one followed. Rachel stared at the screen. Her latest investment strategy report, the one she'd stayed up all weekend refining, the one with the bold prediction about mid-cap biotech portfolios, was now live on the company portal. But the author wasn't her. It was Melanie Davis. And her name wasn't mentioned once. Rachel stood up, heart pounding. She crossed the office to her boss's glass-walled corner room. "Did you see Melanie's new report?" she asked, voice steady but sharp. He looked up from his phone. "Yeah, it's solid work. She's really stepping up." "That was my model," Rachel said. "The one I submitted to you in draft last week. She accessed my shared drive." He blinked. "Look, I get it. but there's no point stirring up trouble. Melanie knows how to make the pitch work in the room. He hesitated. You can come off a little transactional. That word lodged like a splinter in her ribs. Rachel didn't reply. She just turned and walked back to her desk. By 7 p.m., she was gone. Not just from the office, but from the illusion that hard work spoke for itself. That night, she added a new section to the red folder, Office Exploitation, C. Melanie Davis. Then she clicked open the file from Barbara Watkins, her attorney. Your documentation is immaculate, Barbara had told her 2 weeks earlier. These aren't gifts. These were solicitations with implied promises of repayment. Especially with the texts and recorded conversations, this crosses the line into financial misrepresentation. Can I recover any of it? Rachel had asked. Barbara tapped a highlighted row. $35,000 for your sister's wedding, $15,000 for her so-called medical emergencies, $20,000 to Ethan's business. That never existed. All recoverable, especially with written proof. Add in your mother's casino receipts. The judge won't even blink. Rachel had paused. And the emotional part? That's harder to quantify, Barbara said softly. But it's why we include therapy in the terms. Recovery isn't just financial. The day before Christmas, Rachel delivered her final letters, one to each family member, outlining the terms, repayment schedules, group therapy, zero tolerance for gaslighting. She waited. No one responded. Until Christmas morning, and that's when it all unfolded. Samantha lunged across the living room when Rachel opened the red folder, trying to snatch the documents off the coffee table. Ethan, pale as paper, stammered that it was all a misunderstanding. Karen wept, then denied, then raged. Robert remained mute until he finally whispered, Karen, is this true? Rachel laid it all out. Wire transfers, highlighted. Audio recordings of them mocking her. Photos from the private investigator, Ethan's BMW, Samantha's main lake house, Karen entering Mohegan Sun Casino with a Chanel purse she claimed was a birthday gift from school colleagues. They couldn't deny it, so they tried to shame her. You're tearing this family apart, Karen cried. No, Rachel said, voice steel beneath ice. You did that the moment you saw me as a bank, not a daughter. Samantha shouted, You'll regret this, Rachel. Suing your own family? Rachel didn't flinch. You're not being sued, yet. You've been offered terms. If they're not signed by New Year's Day, I go to court. And this, she held up the audio recorder, goes public. Ethan took a slow step back. Wait, you'd ruin our reputations? I'm not ruining anything, Rachel said, locking eyes with each of them. I'm just refusing to protect the lie. The folder snapped shut with finality. If you've ever reached your breaking point and found proof was your only weapon, she said later to the camera, type 2 in the comments. She left them speechless. For once, it was their turn to explain. When Rachel opened the email, her heart stopped, not from rage, but from sheer disbelief. Subject, promotion, internal announcement draft. And there it was, in black and white. Melanie Davis had been named team lead of strategic growth initiatives, the position Rachel had been quietly preparing for months, building reports, training junior analysts, even mentoring Melanie herself in modeling techniques. No mention of Rachel. Again. But this time, she didn't cry. She didn't storm into anyone's office. She hit reply, typed one line, and clicked send. Thanks for the update. Please remove me from the team transition. I've decided to step back from consideration. Then she closed her laptop and packed for her first solo weekend in Vermont. The lake house she booked wasn't extravagant, just quiet, clean, paid for entirely with her own money. No guilt, no strings, no one tracking her every move or calculating how her paycheck could be spent. 6 months had passed since the red folder moment, since the vote, since the fallout, and somehow she'd survived. Her mother, Karen, was attending gambling recovery meetings, full-time teaching again. Still stiff in therapy, but present. Ethan had a real job in IT support, 3 months strong. He emailed her his first payment in April, $150, plus a short note that simply read, Trying. Samantha, cold compliance. She signed the repayment agreements, but therapy was performative at best. In every session, she rolled her eyes and said things like, "I guess we're all here because Rachel needed attention." Rachel didn't respond. Not anymore. Instead, she built a life outside them. She moved into a sunlit condo in Cambridge. She joined a book club, started a rooftop herb garden, and she met Michael, a soft-spoken architect who didn't care about her job title or her past, just about how she took her coffee and what songs made her dance in the kitchen. She also joined a financial abuse survivor group where she met Tara. Over coffee, they talked about control, guilt, and the raw courage it took to walk away from people you once loved more than yourself. Tonight, she sat across from her family at a neutral restaurant downtown. The first unsupervised dinner since Christmas. Ground rules had been clear. No talk about money. Everyone pays for themselves. 2-hour max. Respect is not optional. Samantha arrived late, sunglasses still on. Karen looked tired, but her eyes met Rachel's without flinching. Ethan offered a hesitant smile. The first 20 minutes were civil, until Karen said, "So, Ethan mentioned your firm is expanding. That must mean new bonuses coming up?" Rachel looked at her calmly. "We're not discussing finances tonight, remember?" Karen flushed. "Of course. I was just making conversation." Samantha scoffed. "Honestly, this whole boundary thing is exhausting." Rachel set down her fork. "You're free to leave anytime." Tension rippled, but no one moved. Karen reached out slowly, voice quieter. "I know I've made mistakes, big ones, but I'm trying. I really am." Rachel nodded. "I see that. I appreciate it." "Do you think," Ethan asked, "we'll ever get back to before?" "No," Rachel said simply. "But we might build something better, if it's based on truth, not obligation." Silence again. But this time it didn't feel like hostility, just reality. As the check came, each person pulled out their own card. For once, no one glanced Rachel's way. And that, more than anything, was a start. Outside the restaurant, Samantha lingered. "You think you've won?" she muttered. "You always needed control." "No," Rachel replied, soft but firm. "I needed peace, and now I have it." She turned away, not waiting for a reply. Later that night, Rachel filmed a short video for the support group. "If you've ever had to rebuild your life from ashes they swore weren't burning," she said, "type 3 in the comments." She looked straight into the lens. "Boundaries aren't bitter, they're the beginning."